welcome back to the Prepared Mind channel. I don't know how this video is going to go together, so it's going to be all chopped up. I've got one hell of a long day coming, and a lot of news is happening here on Thursday that's going to be spilled over into Friday. Let's just go through some of the big ones. Let's go with if the media talked about all the areas in the economy that were messed up, there would be instant panic. I'm going to talk about, let's see, the government bonds. Let's talk about the Wall Street numbers dropping so sharply. Let's talk about real estate being hyperinflated and people using that as a bank account. It's my opinion that real estate should not be a major sector of the economy, but rather that real estate is a reflection of a good economy and strong earnings and profits. As it is, real estate appreciating so much and being used as a cash cow to milk is putting people in more private debt. And private debt is a huge problem right now, along with national debt, along with deficit spending, along with all the entitlement programs that are out of control, along with out of control healthcare, out of control legal costs, which add to the cost of everything. Did I mention government pension programs all being tied to Wall Street, which is incredibly weak? I mean, what else can we talk about in the economy that is horrifying, that is scary? Well, Apple's taking a bath. Who's in Apple? If you've got a 401k, odds are you are. But not just you, not just people. Nations have bought it. Switzerland is a major buyer of Apple. I believe Sweden and other countries as well are buying equities, U.S. equities. What is that indicative of? It's indicative of a weak international corporate structure where other nations look to America to buy our equities because theirs are so shabby. Meaning the rest of the world is already in a weakened state. In fact, the EU, the European Union, is still using their version of quantitative easing. They never stopped. Japan never ever stopped. The US has barely stopped, and look what's happening now. The system is weak. Weak. All of this bullshit that Trump threw out there was just a pretty tablecloth. But when they serve the dinner, when we see what is being served to us, it is nothing but a platter of shit and a bowl of shit, and it's all crap. We got a table covered in bull crap, but they said it really nicely for everybody. And I haven't touched everything here. I can't remember if I just mentioned corporate bonds, right? PE ratios, everything economic is bad. And if the news covered it all in one day, instead of just going, well, we had a little Dow problem, and then a couple weeks earlier, oh, we had a little problem with GM, and then after that, well, a little problem with Verizon. Oh, and don't worry about Sears closing down 70 stores. Everything's fine, but don't worry about the fourth quarter numbers. The industrial and manufacturing index is screwed. Right? They give us little teeny bits at a time so people don't panic. But panic they should, because there is not one sector that is kicking ass except precious metals, which have gone up consistently for the last month despite attempts to bring it down and to keep the dollar strong, but it's only strong relative to other currencies. What else is going on? I've said I've been, in yesterday's video I said I'm kind of sitting on everything. I'm sitting on everything. We've got a problem with the 911 system. Other people have talked about it, so I don't want to talk about it a whole lot. But you're telling me the government can't manage a fucking phone line system? You and I have landlines, corporate lines, cell lines with multiple data streams coming to it. It works through Wi-Fi, hotspots, everything on the planet. But the government can't maintain a 911 emergency system? One more reason you should be a prepper, have your own comms, your own ability to communicate, plus rally point meeting plans, where to meet in a serious emergency. And if they're local people, right, you're all around, where to meet, right, for a non-major problem. Having that plan set up, being your own 911, that is, having an everyday carry, and if you can't do open carry, having a concealed weapons permit. It's very important to realize that the government is giving us signals, strong signals. when the president is openly fighting the Federal Reserve chairman, whether it's a fiction, a play, an act or not, it sends a very strong signal because it is unprecedented. Trump has gone way over the line that JFK laid down and contributed to the loss of his life, in my opinion. Trump has really laid it down. The economy requires free and cheap money for people to borrow. And it's not people getting it, it's the banks getting it. And I'll go over that in a quick second. It's being taken away. So we're getting time to get ready. We have time still. But there's no time to fuck around, to drag your feet, to not be prepared. It used to be have a couple days worth of food. Then the government came out and said, have a couple weeks. Now they're telling us have 6 months of food and preparations just in case. Just in case. Now, back to that free money thing. The banks lend the banks and other financial institutions money at 0% cost. And then they turn around and they raise it to 5% and loan to smaller banks. And then the banks turn around and loan to us at 10% to 15%. So they make money all along the way. But the big banks that get 0% money, they're the ones doing what? Buying U.S. bonds at 2.5%, at 3%, at 3.25%. They make 2.5%, 3%, 3.25% for doing nothing other than accepting money at 0 interest and then turning around and giving it back to the government to fund the government through the bond program. It is a sham, it is a shakedown, and you and I are paying for it. We pay for it on the front end by paying these people back interest, and we pay it on the back end by losing value through inflation. This system is coming apart. It's coming apart. And it's like watching a fucking train wreck in slow motion. Because I can see into the future, see where it's going. I think, okay, this is happening, so the next step is that is happening, so the next step is that is happening, so the next step is that is happening, and it's all coming. And that's why I go, okay, next week it's gonna hit, right? Yeah, because I can see these steps, but these steps all take time to play out. They all take time to play out. And for that reason, I'm always ahead of the curve, always saying, look out, it's coming. But I have not been wrong on the progression of steps that we are heading down. This train is heading into the station. It's slowing down economically. And the station is shit hitting the fan. Everything going to crap. So it is my recommendation to think about these things for yourself, to ask yourself the hard questions and make your own decisions based on your own information and your own conclusion. You've got to do the research so you can understand for yourself. Because I don't give financial advice. I don't have any product to sell on here. I make recommendations to think about it and then make your own decisions about what to do. Right? This is getting wild. January 2019, right at the start, here it is, pow. Right? Brazil just elected what they're calling the Brazilian Trump. Are you kidding me? They're going to call him that? Right? And Brazil is one of the BRICS nations. Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa. That's part of that trading bloc, and they want to align themselves with Trump. Very interesting that the Brazilians want a strong nationalist government. They're probably going to go and start fighting with their central bank system. Now, I hedge my bets. I don't believe in Trump, and I don't disbelieve in Trump. What I do believe is there is a program that the government has and the corporations have to change the economic, monetary paradigm. And you've got to position yourself and protect yourself the best way you can. So like I said, whether it's the truth or whether it's an act, whether the fight with the Fed is real or feigned, it's happening. Socially, in our nation and others, there is a showdown internally, domestically in each nation between socialism and nationalism. Now, whether that nationalism is national socialism, I don't know about other countries as much as I know the U.S., but the U.S. has a strong affinity to the concept of freedom. And it's slowly being eroded away by illegal immigration, by government entitlement programs egging people over to the welfare state mentality and then locking them in and holding them there. I've been watching that for 30 fucking years since I started paying attention. It is happening and it is on. So, wow. There's going to be more coming. I just had to throw this out there. So I'm going to add a couple of my takes throughout the day and then get them to you right now as you're watching. So excuse the mix mash order, but there's going to be a lot happening to wrap this week up. And we aren't even to the weekly wrap up. You guys be cool. I'll be back. Hello and welcome back to another installment of today's video. I've got time here and time there, and that's where I'm taking these times to talk to you guys. There's something else that's going on right now, and hopefully I'll have time to get into the whole socialist movement, but for now, I want to talk about the potential screwballs that are going to be cut loose on us, the American people. The screwballs are the ones who are going to lose. Now, they've been doing a variety of tests, in my opinion. People go, that was a beta test, that was a beta test. Yes, I agree. When they shut down the internet, when they shut down the phone system, when they shut down the 911 system, these are beta tests. There's absolutely no reason, with all of the towers and all of the redundancy. Now remember, redundancy is critical for all electronics and computer control systems to have redundant or backup viable programs. You can't tell me that the entire 911 system and its redundant backup has gone down. You can't tell me that a tower went down with a cell phone system and it took out an entire region. It's much more complicated than that, and they have redundant backups. So I believe these are systems to test. Now, we did have the EBT system, which is the welfare credit card, so that people who are on welfare look like they're just pulling out some plastic, just like the rest of us. So, I think that they still have in there as a whole card, that is the deep state, the dark state, the bad guys, the powers that be, the evil Illuminati, the New World Order. I believe they still have the ability to take down the system, and they know what the consequences can be. Now, and I've had people say, John, yeah, false flags are definitely possible. They understand them. They know how they can be used to control behavior, to control and affect us psychologically. They can have a positive one. They can have a negative one. They do this all the time. So, in small ways, they test us. So I've said, yeah, false flag. And people say, yeah, false flags can happen. And then I say the EBT system can be taken down. The credit card system can be taken down. Now, it's not just that people don't have the ability to buy stuff. That's not the scary part. It's what the people do when the system comes down that becomes the problem. And they go, well, it'll be up in a few days, John. It'll be up in a week. People shouldn't panic. And that's the imperative word. They should not panic. But I think those who are operating the system, they know, they absolutely know that people have a very short fuse these days. Americans, whether it's upper class, middle class, the poor, the working poor, the entitlement class, we all have been spoiled. I mean, literally, with the exception of gilded frames on your hand-painted portraits and silverware that's actually made out of silver, people today live better than royalty did 100 years ago. With hot and cold running water, inside toilets, hot meals that are served instantly, right? The people live very well. Air conditioning, heating, everything is simple. Dishwashers, clothes washers, cleaning systems. Only the royalty had it this good 100 years ago. Everyone else still had to deal with coal or having to go to an outhouse outside or not having reliable electricity, hot water heaters, you know, all that shit. Today, everyone is spoiled. Even in my fifth wheel trailer, I have every amenity a human being could want. Everything. Every single thing, even just living in a silly little trailer. Isn't that crazy? And so I do the micro house thing, but I do not do the micro suffering. I'm not doing that. Right? Fuck, who wants to do that? right? So we're all spoiled. And the point being is if you watch videos on YouTube or you catch the news, you see more than just the police losing their fucking nut when somebody does something that pisses them off. You know, a lot of people go, it's the police. You know, the police are horrible. Look at how they beat all these people. I think they lose their fucking nut. They fucking crack up. And it's not just the police, right? You can watch videos, and this has been happening a long time, and it's getting worse. It's just not reported on. And that is the phenomena that we call road rage. But road rage isn't limited to the road. It erupts in restaurants. In fact, the movie Falling Down with Michael Douglas was interesting. The guy lost his job. Then he went to this store and he went to that store just trying to get home, and he lost his fucking, his mind. Right? He was losing his marriage, or he'd lost his marriage. People crack. They break, and then they react in very negative, very unpredictable ways. And we're seeing that. And the proliferation of the use of antipsychotics is actually creating psychotics. Right? When people don't get their medication or they need their medication adjusted, but it just takes one thing to set them off. And they go off and they start punching and shooting and kicking and screaming. And you see this a lot more than anything. You see the screaming and yelling. Right? I didn't want cheese on my hamburger. Right? Why are you charging me for that? You rang that up wrong. And they lose their fucking mind. Go on, you can go on YouTube here and look, or YouTube over there, since you're on Patreon. You can go over there and look and research. People losing their minds, people cracking up, people assaulting other people. It's for no particular reason that seems like it's worth that. And then the idea that everyone else should jump in and step in, it's cool when they do, but for the most part, people don't want to get involved. Because they don't want to have to deal with the police. All right, you're involved in an incident, now you have to deal with all this shit. Fuck that. People don't get involved. Right? You don't want to, and also lawsuits. Right? Someone's going to film it, and then you're named in the lawsuit for getting involved in such a way that maybe you shouldn't have. And even if you should have, right, you can get sued anyway. It's like someone breaking into your house. They stub their toe, they get an infected ingrown toenail, and they sue you for it because it happened on your property while they were burglarizing you. That's the type of shit we deal with. Everything is off. It's off. Everything is off. Right? You can be sued over stuff for no reason. You can be arrested for any particular reason. You can be killed by a cop just for talking back and they felt like you threatened their life. Right? People on the street, they just lose their fucking nut. So now let's take what's happening while things are good, while we have full bellies, while we have lots of EBT welfare money, people are still losing it. So the question I have for you is what happens when the system goes down for a week, even for just a couple of days? They can't get their meds, they're out of meds, psychotic break. People get upset, psychotic break. People are scared, nervous, psychotic break. Psychotic meaning violent. People tend to react violently. They get a little hungry, they get a little thirsty, they get a little scared, they get a little mad, they're frustrated, they want some revenge, they want some payback. Bad, 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 and bad. And this can happen either naturally, like a real problem in the system, or it could be synthetic or man-made or created, a false flag. This type of shit is coming. It's coming more and more, and in 2019, especially if, and this is when you and I and other preppers really need to pay attention, if Trump starts, or the Trump administration, the Attorney General's office starts making these high-level arrests, right? They promise, everyone's promising these indictments are out there, and they just need to be unsealed and then prosecuted. You can't just have an indictment and not prosecute it. It's valueless. But if they do start arresting these high-level scumbags, someone, somewhere, may pull the trigger, push the button, send up the missile and the flag, and call for, right, black swan, false flag, and we could have 3 or 4 days or 7 or 8 days of shitstorm because of people losing their fucking minds because they're already primed. And you combine that this spring with a further slowdown in the economy, the stock market, most people don't give a shit. They really don't care because they're not invested, or they don't understand, and this is more important, they don't understand the correlation between stock market valuation and the business decisions that are made. I just got done, pulled out of a Les Schwab tire place, and I said, hey man, this place is dead. The guy's like, I know it's dead. I said, well, you know, check the air pressure in the pickup here. And he's like, yeah, I'll take care of you. And I said, you know, got to get you guys busy. We got to get some more foul weather, you know. He's like, right. He goes, we just laid off another employee Monday, which was December 31st. I was like, Monday, you laid someone else off in the middle of what should be the busy season. Their sales are down. Companies are tightening their belts. All I get is anecdotal information. But all the anecdotal information I get, not only in my area, but around the country, all the anecdotal information is negative. I don't hear anyone saying, man, real estate is off the hook. It's awesome. You know, people, in fact, I think I was reported that the most expensive mansion that just sold was reduced 75%. That's not a good indicator, right? Retail is down. Construction is down. Everything is in a downslide. And the only upslide that we're going to get in order to quell the terror and the panic, right? And that we have to go through these steps. So it's whether you get this video first or you get it second, because I'm doing the Potpouri mix today, right? There's steps that have to happen. And I can see all of the steps between here and shit hitting the fan, the path we're on, the very firm and set path we're on. It's going to require that once the major collapse or monetary, financial, fiscal, economic collapse is understood, when the effects are a drying up of liquidity, people having no money, too much debt, they have to go through this step to get to shit hitting the fan. And that is going to be what's known as helicopter money, which is a check in the mail, or more quantitative easing, which is going to go to corporations. Last time they just took that money and bought back their own stocks and increased the value of their stocks without increasing the productivity of their companies. They may not be allowed to do that. So they could do helicopter money, more tax credits, and also universal basic income, which is giving everyone cash. They have to go through that step. I don't think the government is honest enough to skip it and just go straight to the pain. They're going to do everything they can, but when they do that, it's going to cause inflation, right? You double the money supply, people are spending money, the money is less valuable. It should be 50% as valuable, which means a doubling of costs. It takes a while for this to build and get in there. So it's not going to be like one day a gallon of milk is $5, the next day it's 10. Right? A gallon of gas isn't going to jump to 6 or 7. It's going to take time. And that is the time when we know, right, not only is the fuse lit, but someone threw some gasoline on it. And it's going to go a lot faster. But that helicopter money, UBI, that could be 6 months to a year taking effect. But you will know that shit has hit the fan. And again, we're hoping for this gradual awakening of people to the trouble they're in, and that we see a gradual increase in poor behavior rather than all at once. All at once. Anyways, I'm out of here. I'm being flagged on in. You guys be cool, and hopefully I get time for another installment on today's video. If not, I'll see you all for the weekly wrap-up on Saturday. So you guys be cool, Semper Fi, eyes open, get ready.